Hello, good people of the internet. Welcome to this new edition of the Galactic Nerd Outpost podcast. It's the man who's back, who's whack, who's keeping you all on track. It's me, Cody Bratch, and me and my friend Abyss here are going to show you all where it's at. Ow! Shimona! Okay, so, as you might have noticed, in the title of this podcast, it's in big caps, no Gojin allowed. You see, what happened was that me and Abyss here, we bitch slapped that motherfucker and we put him back in the corner where he belongs, where he started crying and jerking off to his sadness. He's like, oh, no one will ever touch me except for me. Oh my gosh.
Justice.
I understood that reference. So, in all seriousness, he hasn't seen the movie that we're going to be talking about today. And as you can see, unless you're blind, in which case, sorry about that, we're going to be talking about the newest addition to the Transformers film series, Transformer Rise of the Beasts, starring, in addition to the Autobots, the Maximals from Beast Wars and Beast Machines.
Yep. It would have been funnier if we did it yesterday, because Optimus Prime's one of his famous quotes is, freedom is the right of all sentient beings, or whatever.
Yeah. For being from another planet, Optimus Prime sure is a patriotic motherfucker. I mean, he's literally red, white, and blue.
America! I mean,
fuck yeah!
Fuck yeah! And yeah, so they got to team up the Maximals to take on literally the Satan of the Transformers universe, Unicron. And they have to deal with his herald, at least in this universe, Scourge. Scourge didn't waste any time to show that he was a fucking threat in this movie.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to get into that and a whole lot more. But here's a plot twist for you all. Me and Abyss live in different states of the country. In fact, we live in different sections. I'm over on the West Coast, and Abyss, you're closer to the middle, upper middle of the country, wouldn't you say?
Well, about say East Coast, close to it.
Right on. And yet
you're from the Western, I'm from the Eastern United States.
Yes. And yet somehow we actually got to see this movie together. We actually went to a movie theater and saw it together.
Yeah, I was visiting one of my relatives in Washington, and by chance, Cody turns out to be in the same area that I was vacationing in for that week, and we plan to go see Transformers Rise of the Beast.
Yeah, he was mostly there to visit his cousin and his uncle and aunt, but at the same time, I really actually wanted to meet him, because this would have been the first time that I would have met one of my online friends IRL, specifically from the friends group that we're in. That includes Gojin, Trevor, and so on. People who have been on this podcast with us and haven't been. But I gotta say, I was glad I met you first, because you and I actually had a good time together.
Yeah. I have met Zimzilla at G-Fest last year, so I guess there's that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, before we get into the brunt of this, of the review, maybe we should talk about our history with the Transformers franchise overall. Why don't you start?
I remember really watching it like the very first movie when it came out originally, all the way back, like what? Oh my god, it's been 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd probably say that's like the earliest I remember watching Transformers. And I think there was a cartoon that came around the same time. I don't remember what it was called.
Transformers Animated, I think.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the earliest I can remember being into Transformers.
Right on. How much more exposure have you had to the show the franchise since then?
Not really too much.
Oh, right on. Gojin's having himself a ball talking in the comment section with Toku Punk. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got Andrew Sosa saying it was so bad, lol. You're entitled to your wrong opinion. Okay. And we have Toku Punk basically doing his own little review of the movie here too. But I'll guess I'll do my exposure to the Transformers franchise. Actually, at a very young age, they were showing Transformers Beast Machines on Fox Kids, and I saw the mass majority of that show. I didn't get to finish it, but it kept my attention enough for me to see most of it. I saw up until after Megatron was supposedly destroyed. And then I caught a few episodes of the show that Beast War Machines was actually a sequel to, Beast Wars, which is ironic considering the fact that characters from those two shows actually play a big part in this movie here. And after that, I heard about Transformers and saw these commercials for transforming trucks and whatnot, but I didn't actually go out of my way to get any of the toys or watch any of the shows or anything. I just knew it was a thing that existed. And then the first Michael Bay movie came out. I got to see that in theaters. I saw Revenge of the Fallen and Dark Side of the Moon in theaters. They're terrible movies, but they all have certain entertainment factors about them. I still like them all right, even though I can fully admit that for the most part, they're actually pretty bad.
Yeah,
and then
they got really good designs and special effects and good action, but that's about it. That's the only thing Michael Bay can do to save his fucking life for these movies.
Yes. You can make big old explosions go boom and put scantily dressed women in front of you, in front of the camera, and also give you very awkward humor.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. And then I went out of my way not to see Age of Extinction or The Last Night in theaters because of the fact that Michael Bay, rather than take the criticism at face value, he's just like, oh, let them hate. They're going to go see it anyways. And I'm just like, joke's on you. And apparently the joke was especially on him during Transformers The Last Night, because even though that made like $700 million at the box office, it still wasn't up to the standards that the studio was expecting, because up until then, each Transformers movie kept making more and more money as the series went on. And then Michael Bay just sort of stepped away from the director's seat. So we got the quote-unquote prequel/reboot movie Bumblebee, which was actually very good. I honestly feel like it's the best of the live-action Transformers movies.
Probably
then I saw Transformers Prime, the animated show, which is probably my favorite Transformers thing of all time. And then I saw the animated movie that was based off the original G.N.O show. It's my favorite Transformers movie of the bunch. I actually think it's the overall best, even if you take into account the live-action movies. And yeah, I've seen random pieces of Transformers media here and there since. I had these creepy, cheap-ass knockoff Optimus Prime toys given to me as stocking stuffers for Christmas, and it goes on from there. But yeah, I know the basic idea of what Transformers is. I know who the main Transformers characters are from the Autobot side and the Decepticon side, and it goes on and on from there. So yeah, that's what we all both know about the Transformers franchise. So tell me, before we go any further, how interested were you in seeing this movie, Abyss?
Honestly, I probably wouldn't have really gone to see it because I don't know, but it did got me back in it wanting to see more of the Transformer stuff. Look back on some of its stuff. I will say that.
Yeah, if I'm about to say, if it had been for the fact that we had planned to hang out together when you came to Washington, I probably wouldn't have gone to see it either. Mostly because, while I was interested in the movie, there has to be an extra incentive for me to go see movies in theaters, even if there are movies I'm actively interested in. The sole exception would be Godzilla movies because, Godzilla.
Yep, you got me there on that one. Godzilla.
Fuck yeah. Now, let's talk about what the plot. Give a basic plot summary of what this movie's story is. You kind of did it a little bit already, Abyss, but I wrote this whole thing out, so I want to do it anyways because, well, I worked hard on this motherfucker.
We'll do it.
All right. Two college-aged young adults from different backgrounds in New York find themselves caught up in the middle of a centuries-old intergalactic struggle involving the Terracons and Predacon armies and acolytes of Unicron and the Maximals, who have been hiding out on our planet ever since theirs was destroyed. An added monkey wrench in this conundrum is the Autobots, who have been dislocated from their home planet of Cybertron and have been looking for a way back ever since, hiding out on our world since then. Our two human protagonists must unite with the Maximals and Autobots on a globe-trotting adventure that will decide the fate of our world and possibly the whole universe. Would you say that accurately describes the plot of the movie?
Yeah.
So, big warning. This is probably going to go into spoilers because us being the autistic fucks that we are, can't really be clever enough to talk about this movie without giving shit away. And I actually have a lot to say about the shit that will have to be given away. And I'm sure you do too there, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I already kind of... Well, then again. But it was already revealed in the trailers. Unicron was like the main villain.
True. They actually showed Unicron, and rather than do the thing where he's secretly our world in disguise, they actually made him his own thing again, which I gotta admit, I actually prefer that more. I thought it was kind of clever. I like the way they handled it in Transformers Prime, but I prefer Unicron to be more his own thing as opposed to being our world or hidden in our world's core, because that makes him more distinct and it makes him less anchored to what they could do with him, weighed down to what they could do with him without, literally ripping the planet in half. Because the way they had Unicron in the last night, based on the trailers that I saw, if he really wanted to, he could have really just ripped out of our planet, torn it apart, and that would be it. Movie over.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah. But in this, not only did they keep his origins mostly intact from what they were in G1, they actually retained his appearance from G1. He actually looks like he did it in that first animated movie, and I loved that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So, how do you think of the movie told its story? What do you think of how they executed the plot of this movie?
I think they did it fairly well overall.
Yeah, I agree. Even though it sounds like a lot based on the plot description I gave, it's actually fairly simple. It lets you know everything that you need to know, gives good character motivations for why everyone's doing what they're doing, and I had a fun time following the story, even though I wasn't entirely sure. I had a good idea of what to expect, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I know what they're going for, but how are they going to do it? And based on what they showed in the movie, I thought they did it fairly well.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to think of right now. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just waiting for you to say what you're going to say, because I don't want to just be the guy who takes over the whole show. I want you to have an equal voice as much as I have one.
So I don't know too much about Transformers, but I do know Unicron's like supposed to be like the Satan of the Transformers franchise, and he goes around like galactus eating planets and stuff. And he was after whatever that thing was called that like let him just go around the universe wherever he wanted.
Yeah, I believe that was called the Warp Core Key. No, Transwarp Key, which is basically gives him X. I think in addition to letting him transport from world to world, it also lets him transport from universe to universe, as in he could actually travel the multiverse. And I also think it activates a device on the planet that gives him direct access into the core and can absorb the core's energy, thus feeding him and making him powerful and killing the planet. So Unicron, in that sense, is literally a planet killer / planet eater.
Planet eater. Okay, and his Herald is Scourge, right? And who's the other two robots? I don't remember their names. Sorry.
I honestly don't know. I didn't bother to look them up because, except for Scourge, and I guess for Scorponok, because they made like a whole army of Scorponok clones. The rest of the Terracons sort of blended together to me. They weren't as distinct from each other as, say, the Autobots and the Maximals were, at least in my opinion. So, don't get me wrong. I still like them in the movie. I actually think they played their role well, and they were executed as good as they can. It's just that even though there's a comparatively smaller human cast for this movie than for past Transformers movies, at least the Michael Bay ones, there's also a whole lot of Transformers in this. So you know that when it comes to character development, characterization, and screen time, some guys are going to get lost in the shuffle, get lost in the weeds and all that.
Yeah, this movie actually felt like it had characters and plot, unlike the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah. They knew who they wanted to focus on. They knew what they were going for, and they executed it to the best of their abilities, while also being as respectful as they could to the characters and their legacies. That's something I really enjoyed about this movie, is the fact that even though they could have gone the lazy ass copy and paste of what the Michael Bay movies were, they actually tried to tell a different story and tried to do it with respect, and didn't resort to very lowbrow, cringy humor, like giving one of the human characters pot brownies, having one of the Autobots piss on one of the human bad guys, mostly because there are no human bad guys in this one, thank God.
Yeah, it also had a lot of badass one-liners. It's always amusing to see a lesser being meet a being of higher power or whatever.
Yep. I like that the Autobots got, well, not just the Autobots, but the Transformers overall got more focus and got more spotlight in this movie, as opposed to the Michael Bay movies, where they sort of took the back seat to the human characters, who probably could have been interesting if they were done right, but I'll be perfectly honest, those human characters are repellent for me when it comes to those movies. Makes it hard for me to want to watch them again.
I don't even want to know if I want to watch any of the freaking Michael Bay Transformers movies, honestly. I've only seen his first one, and that was it.
Right on.
I can't say too much about it.
Well, let me say you're not missing much with the other movies. They got some good action scenes with the Transformers, but that's about it. I guess we both agree that we liked the plot and they did it very well. You agree? All right. I was actually having a really fun time with the movie in the theater, and so were you. You and I kept taking times to look over at each other and laugh, give each other high fives, and talk about stuff that we enjoyed from the movie.
Yep. The final boss fight where they're trying to stop Unicron from entering Earth was pretty wild.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't too wild. Like, it seemed like it had a structure to it, and it seemed like there was a goal.
Shut up, Gojin. And hold hands. Don't forget that cute detail. Why don't you quit being a fucking asshole for once?
You know that's asking too much from Gojin. He'll never stop. Now, I like fight scenes as much as the next guy, but for me, most of the best movie fights or final fights are also telling a story. They have a point to them. They have a story to tell. In this case, it was the characters trying to stop Unicron from from destroying the Earth. And every single aspect they introduced into the fight had a purpose. The Scourge and the other Terracons, they were his Unicron's heralds, his acolytes, so to speak. And the Scorponok's were like their default army and just another obstacle to get in the way of the humans, the Autobots, and the Maximals. And to me, they executed everything they tried to do with the story they were telling very well. Toku Punk says that the Maximals were way underused.
Looking back, yeah, they kind of were.
A little bit, but at the same time, here's the thing. They probably did the best that they could with this movie. They wanted to have a structure. They wanted to tell a concise story, as concise as possible. And God, the movie was 2 hours and 7 minutes long. It did not feel that long to me. I thought it actually felt a little bit shorter because the pacing was so. I thought it was so well done, at least on first watch. But
yeah,
I guess you could make the argument that the Maximals were underused, but I think that's a result of trying to use both the Maximals and the Autobots at the same time instead of picking one or the other. Abyss, would you have preferred them to stick with one or the other when it comes to the Autobots or the Maximals?
I want to say they probably should have looked on the Maximals when it's called Rise of the Beast, and that was their big thing. Like, oh, the Maximals are finally in the Transformers movie.
Yeah. In all honesty, if they were going to use the Maximals and the Predacons, maybe they should just done a straight-up Beast Warriors film adaptation instead of trying to shoehorn them in with the Autobots and all that and put them in modern times where they have to share screen time with human characters and again the Autobots. Maybe that would have been better.
Yeah,
but I stand by the fact that despite the fact that it was all shoehorned in together, for being shoehorned in together, they did the best they could with it.
Yeah, I think that's this movie's main problem. They had so many people trying to go on into once, and I did think they did try to work the best they could with it, but too much stuff in one movie.
Yeah. According to Toku Punk, there was actually even more stuff that was supposed to be in the movie originally, but a lot of it got cut. So,
yeah.
I can believe that. It even says here on the Rise of the Beast Wikipedia page that John DiMaggio, who plays the Autobot Stratosphere, the cargo plane that takes them to Peru, I think, he also played Transit, a Decepticon who transforms into a New York Transit bus, but his character scenes were deleted due to pacing and the fact that the actual Decepticons, any role that they had in this movie was cut out to focus solely on the Terracons and Predacons who work for Unicron. There's a lot of ons here.
Welcome to the ons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Transits looked awesome. Sad he got cut. Toku Punk said.
I'm honestly fine with the fact that he was cut and that there was no actual Decepticons because of the fact that there was already so much in the movie. They basically had to pick their battles of what they wanted to put in. And rather than repeat what the 80s movie did where Unicron's heralds / acolytes were resurrected Decepticons, including Galvatron, they went with Scourge and all of them. And the reason why they did that instead of Megatron and so on is reasons that we'll get into later because of how I decided to structure this motherfucker in my notes. Because yes, I did notes. We're here. We're professionals here, sort of. Not really. We're autistic guys doing the best we can. Leave us alone. So, is there any more you want to say about the plot / story of this movie, Abyss?
Yeah, it was fine for the most part overall. But like I said, I think from where they try to do the Maximals and the Autobots, kind of felt, I don't know, it's like putting in too many clothes in your freaking bag and having a hard time zipping it up. Like it just barely works.
Too many cooks in the kitchen?
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, I do. That's a fair critique. Yeah. I think that in this day and age, there's going to always any movie that comes out is going to have flaws because, well, that's who we are. We are humans. We are flawed. So obviously, the things that we're going to make are going to have some sort of flaws. Even movies that are hailed as masterpieces are going to have some sort of fatal flaw with them. Like Back to the Future, for example. People love that movie, and it's a great movie, but because of the nature of what it is, ergo a time travel movie, there's always going to be some sort of plot hole or conundrum with it because time travel is so fucking tricky to do right. And I honestly feel that no one's done time travel right in terms of the written plot. What do you think, Abyss?
Time traveling is always going to be something tricky because you're going to be like, oh, plot hole here, plot hole that, plot hole everywhere, no matter what movie you're watching. Terminators, Endgame, and basically any fucking movie that any has to do with time travel and shit.
Yeah, so going off of that example, and just the way the Hollywood system works now, especially because the Hollywood business is now a whole lot more business than what it used to be. There's always going to be someone putting their hand in the cookie jar trying to decide what would be best for the product. And it's because of that, the loss of a simplicity following one or a smaller group of people's vision, there's probably always going to be some sort of fatal flaw. And even most of the movies I like have their own flaws in them. So Gojin says Back to the Future did it better than most, though. That's a good point. Yeah, it did. But to be fair, look who they had working on that motherfucker. Robert Zemeckis, Steven Spielberg. You get it. So, yeah, I think we said everything we need to say about the plot. Now, let's move on along to the characters. You down with that?
Yeah. I gotta try. I always have to pull up the cast that way I remember. So yeah, Noah was pretty good. He was a pretty good character.
Yeah, we got Noah Diaz, played by Anthony Ramos. Yeah. In the movie, he's an ex-military electronics expert who lives with his family in Brooklyn and is trying to support them. In fact, the movie actually, when it gets time for his part, when they introduce him, he's on his way to a job interview, and also he's having to deal with his mom, who's stressed out as it is, because, well, black family living in the slums of New York, barely making ends meet. And on top of that, her youngest son, who is Noah's brother Chris, has what they call sickle cell disease, which he has to get regular treatments and checkups for. And on top of the money problems they already have, they have a big-ass hospital bill because of the fact that, well...
Noah's brother has, like, something wrong with his hand from what I remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember what was wrong.
Like I said, it's called sickle cell disease. I don't know exactly what that entails, but it can't be good if they have to give them regular checkups that increase their medical bills to the point where, like, they basically have to declare bankruptcy. Hell, they're even turned away during the checkup that they take Chris to because of the fact that they're like, nah, you owe us way too much. You either pay now or get out. And so they have to sort of get out. And then Noah gets rejected from his job interview even before he gets to have his job interview because apparently he has some shady past that got him excommunicated from the military or something like that. I don't know. I know they explained it in the movie, but I can't for the life of me remember what's up with it.
Yeah. I felt like they could have done that point better than if you have a hard time remembering it.
Well, to be fair, I only saw the movie once, and again, I'm an autistic fuck, and half my attention wasn't on the movie. Half of it was also on you and trying to show you a good time because, well, that was our first and possibly our last time hanging out together IRL.
Whoa.
Not that kind of good time.
Okay, buddy. Hold up.
Not that kind of good time, you motherfucker. Get your head out of the gutter. The rest of you, too. Why you do this? Don't be like Gojin. Gojin's lame. Be like Trevor. Be like Trevor. He's slightly less lame.
I'm going to read some of what Toku Punk's been saying. Prime felt off to me. Mirage was so annoying. The humans felt like a more boring versions of Bumblebee's cast. Primal and Scourge were the best of the film, in my opinion. And the part where Mirage died and it became an Iron Man suit from Noah was pretty cringe, in my opinion. And I hated what they did with G.I. Joe. It was going to be Sector 7, but they changed it. Damn Paramount. Bro, Trevor's psycho, LOL.
I wouldn't call him psycho, but... Okay, what? Who was Sector 7?
What's Sector 7, Toku?
I'm actually looking it up right now.
Yeah, I felt like that G.I. Joe thing was unnecessary. It's like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah, I guess we should also talk about that.
Sector 7 from Bumblebee.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what the name of the secret organization is. Look, why can't they just stick to the regular cast of the basic bitch stuff that's actually established in the real world? Why can't it be like the CIA or Interpol or the FBI or the Babadoo-Gabadoo-Gab?
Yeah.
Yeah, the G.I. Joe stuff was a little bit shoehorned in because before this movie came out, Paramount and Hasbro put together a writing room of people who were trying to figure out how to make a shared cinematic universe work between Transformers, G.I. Joe, Mask, and another Hasbro property that I do not know the name of. So, yeah. And apparently, according to one guy, the writer room supposedly failed, although because of the fact that they put it in the G.I. Joe thing at the end of the movie, you have to wonder just how much it failed. I gotta say, it didn't bother me too much, because let's face it, even though the MCU is like slowly dying, there are still a lot of people that are trying to chase that rabbit. DC be one of them. Hell, they're having to chase it twice because their first cinematic universe failed so badly, and then Universal tried to do their own cinematic universe with the Universal Monsters, but then basically waved the white flag after the first two attempts failed, and they're just like, okay, we're not doing this shit anymore. Then we have the Monsterverse that's actually doing okay. It's going, but like I would say they're more in a pedal boat as opposed to a speedboat when it comes to taking off as a cinematic universe. They're getting there, but like nowhere near the height of what the MCU had managed to achieve before it slowly died.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree that some people could see it as shoehorned in, but I enjoyed a whole lot more from the movie to the point that it didn't bother me too much. How much did it bother you, Abyss?
What did?
The G.I. Joe stinger at the end.
I felt like that was completely unnecessary. Like, it just comes in out of nowhere. Like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no signs of it doing it. It's just, oh, G.I. Joe, and that's it. Like, seriously?
I guess the Yeah, some could see it as a detriment, especially considering the fact that it was originally supposed to be Sector 7, which would have tied it better to Bumblebee, the movie that this is supposedly a sequel to. I say supposedly because even though it's billed as a sequel, it's actually very standalone, which is actually something I have to also give it praise for, is the fact that unless you don't know anything about Transformers, like you don't know the basic idea at all, you can actually get into this one very easily without like worrying about continuity or anything. It is there, but it doesn't lean on it like a crutch, like say the MCU has become so bad with doing lately. Like there's some movies that you'll have a hard time watching without having to watch other movies in the past because the MCU's just gotten way too big for that.
I gotta hold everything like a crutch now at this point. It's ridiculous.
Yep. So I gotta praise this movie for at least being able to stand on its own. At least I think it for now. He said so forebodingly. But yeah, getting back to Noah, I actually liked him. I preferred Noah to Sam Witwicky like a whole lot. Part of why is because I don't know what it was about Shia LaBeouf's whether it was Shia LaBeouf's performance, the way it was written, or the editing, anything. But whenever Shia LaBeouf was doing anything that had to do with the Transformers in those movies, I felt like I was on the cusp of having a seizure. My whole body felt like it was trying to break apart on me because it felt so intense. Because Shia LaBeouf was acting so intense to the point of being near. He was fucking irritating. I'll say it. He was fucking irritating, and I'm glad he's not in the movie. Yes, apparently Shia LaBeouf is also a real dipshit in real life.
I know.
So I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to them, assuming we still have viewers watching. But yeah, I don't mind that you could make the argument that the way Shia LaBeouf was acting, where he's like on the cusp of having a panic attack, is probably more realistic. Like that was how someone would act if they got caught up in the middle of an intergalactic war with giant robots all of a sudden, and then had a government agency coming up on them and whatnot. But I don't care. I don't really care, honestly. There's got to be there's got to be a fine balance between what's realistic enough to the point where it doesn't take you out of the thing, and also what benefits the story and the people watching this story. Film is a hard art to get down properly. I mean, just look at how many people out there have made their careers on YouTube off of shitting on movies that haven't done it properly, at least in their opinions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I felt for the character of Noah. I was able to get why he was in the position he was in. I feel like the movie did enough to make me care about him, and I liked his overall role in the movie. Could they have done it better?
Yeah,
maybe. But again, that's a result of having so many moving pieces in the so many moving cogs in the machine. Something's going to get lost. Something's not going to get the attention it probably should.
Yeah.
Now, something that Toku brought up. How'd you feel about about Noah getting that Power Rangers / Iron Man armor at the very end of the movie?
I think they said that it was really bad to them and it made it cringe.
I was talking to you, Abyss, specifically.
Honestly, it felt really random. Like, what? I don't know if that's something they've done in the Transformers movies, but it's something I wouldn't expect to see. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm fine with it because there is a precedent for it in other Transformers media. going back to the 80s animated movie I was talking about, the one that's my favorite, the human kid in that movie, Spike, had a suit that could transform and help him, give him a gun and help him interact with the Autobots and everything much better. So, because there's a precedent for that, I'm fine with it.
Okay. You're talking to someone who barely knows shit about Transformers, so yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I gotta admit, I actually thought it was kind of funny. I would actually start singing, I am Iron Man, copyright friendly Iron Man. And then when I did that in the theater, you slowly looked over at me. You were like, silently be like, bro, shut up.
Yeah, was I doing that, looking at you like that? Because I don't even remember.
Well, you looked over at me while I was doing that, and it was kind of hard to get a read on what you were thinking, but I saw you out of the corner of my eye. So that's what I thought you were thinking right there at the moment. You were probably like, dude, what are you doing? Knock it off.
I was probably looking at you like, the fuck is this?
Well, to be fair, that's how a lot of people look at me.
No, not you saying that, but like that part where he transformed, because I wasn't expecting that. What the fuck is this? Discount Iron Man?
I know what they were trying to do. They didn't want them to just sit on the sideline and let the Autobots deal with everything, because humans dabble. As humans, we dabble in humanism, where we think that we're the center of the universe and everything's about us, and like we have to be involved in these big decisions or else whatever. And also, as a result of that, they want Noah to play the part that he did by give the audience someone that they could sort of project themselves into, so they don't feel a certain disconnect when all the giant robots are doing giant robot things.
True.
Mm-hmm. So some people might feel like that's too shoehorned in, like the G.I. Joe thing. I'm fine with it myself because I know what they were trying to do. And
at least you make sense with that. The G.I. Joe thing was still just random.
It was, in fact. It does, besides, even though that stuff is there, it doesn't take away from the fact that the big giant robots, the Autobots, Maximals, Predacons, and Terracons did their thing, and they did it very well. Was very much entertained with all the robot fights, the Transformer fights in this movie. What do you think of the fight scenes in this movie?
They delivered as hard like they normally did, like in Michael Bay's movies. Yeah.
Yeah. It made me so happy to see whenever something would happen. I'd look over and you were having the time of your life watching them, and I'm just like, all right, we're having a good time. We're having fun here.
No.
Yeah. So, Noah, he was pretty okay in my opinion. So, could he have been better? Probably, but what are you gonna do? So many characters, they all need screen time. I guess we'll go to the next character on the list. Elena Walker, portrayed by Dominique Fishback. What the hell kind of name is Fishback?
I don't know.
But what did you think of the character of Elena, an artifact researcher and intern at a museum? And that's how she gets caught up in this. She's looking at a statue that turns out to be holding part of the transwarp key in it. And the main crux of what the movie is afterwards is trying to find the other half before the Terracons and Predacons can. That didn't go as well as they wanted it to. What'd you think of her?
I felt her role was pretty alright. Like, she's gonna know all this stuff, and she's looked at all of it. It's not like, oh, I just know it, I don't know her. She's like looks at it and reads about it and all this stuff. You there?
I am. I was just trying to decide. I was / reading Toku Punk's new comments, and also trying to think of what I was going to say about her. I'm I thought she fit into the story organically enough. However, now that I think about her role in the movie, it opens up what could be seen as another flaw in the movie's plot. The fact that they spent all this time trying to get something, trying to keep it away from the Terrorcons and Predacons, only for the Terrorcons and Predacons to get it anyway.
Yeah, because, plot point makes things more dire, makes them all desperate and want to fight even harder to keep Unicron from showing up,
Yep. I don't think it's a flaw like some people are probably going to say it is because, well, even though the Terrorcons got what they wanted anyways, it led to that big epic final fight, which you expect there to be in a Transformers film, both by reputation and the fact that, well, they've had the big epic final fight in every other Transformers movie released so far. So, yeah. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be scattered brain. It's just that every time I think about a character and what they bring to the story, it reminds me of a part of the story that I forgot to bring up.
Yeah.
So, Elena, she works well enough. I didn't find her annoying. I thought she was competent enough, but other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say about her other than I'm glad they didn't try to force a romance between her and Noah. Of all the things they could have done, of all the shoehorning that they have done and could have done more, they're like, no, we're not going to do this forced romance bullshit.
Yeah, for real.
Oh. So, yeah, I guess we'll move on from the human. Wait, no. One more human character to talk about, because I feel like he deserves to be talked about, is Chris Diaz, Noah's little brother. I know what they were going for with him. They were trying to make him like sort of the heart at the middle of Noah's character arc, his story arc through the movie, and he filled that role just fine. Other than that, not a whole lot to say about Noah's younger brother. What do you think of him?
He was fine. He kind of just served as a get your shit together type plot point for Noah. That's about it, though.
That's fair. Oh, something I gotta bring up about him, since it's shown through him. This movie's set in the 90s, whereas Bumblebee was set in the 80s, because they haven't decided yet. Even though people are saying these new movies are reboots, apparently Hasbro hasn't decided yet on if these are really a reboot for a whole new universe or if they're going to stay prequels to the Michael Bay movies. But we'll talk more about that later.
I think it would fit with, since Unicron's here, it would be probably better if they just keep it as reboots.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because they had Unicron show up in The Last Night, and then here's Unicron as his own self here in this movie, and yet somehow Hasbro are insisting they're still on the fence on if these are going to be reboots or not. It's like Tokupunk said, nah, it's definitely a reboot, but we'll talk about that later. Just something that was amusing to me through Chris is we got to see 2 images from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as a way to remind people this is the 90s, and also a way to remind people that Hasbro now owns Power Rangers, which is still so bizarre to me. Yeah. Can we get Power Rangers in this cinematic universe people are trying to force us into? We'll see. But yeah, fuck the rest of the human characters. Their parts aren't big enough to talk about. They handle their roles, the roles they were given, just fine. They're competent enough. They're all supporting characters. And that's really all they need to be, because this is all about this is for the most part about the robots, baby. So let's move on to them. We have Mirage, played by Pete Davidson. What do you think of him?
He was kind of funny, and also kind of annoying at the same time.
Davidson said in an interview when trying to describe his character that it was supposed to be like Jim Carrey's The Mask meets Bugs Bunny. I didn't get that at all.
Honestly, he just sounded like some goofy hood dude from New York, if you ask me. That's the personality I got from him.
Yep. Some of the pseudo jive talk, gangster talk makes me almost seem like he was trying to. How can I say this without sounding racist or anything? Because I know a lot of white people and other ethnicities talk like this too, but for some reason, it came off to me like Pete Davidson was trying to make Mirage sound black.
Yeah, kind of.
That's just how it came across to me. Mirage was annoying. I didn't think he was annoying, Toku Punk. I didn't hate him. I didn't find him annoying. I thought
yeah, like he was talking about how Bumblebee was gonna have more time, but he like literally dies at the beginning and you don't even show up until like Unicron starts entering.
Yeah, I know what they were going for, a tragic thing as motivation for Optimus Prime, but at the same time, Bumblebee in this line of live action movies is just such a unique character. That's one thing I do have to praise the Michael Bay movies for, as much as I don't want to. They make Bumblebee such a unique character, such a unique individual with the personality, design, and character traits they gave him, as opposed to in the past where Bumblebee's just sort of one of the guys who blends into the background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, if anyone, they probably should have made Mirage the guy that dies. I mean, I kind of get why they made Bumblebee, because like
almost did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess we'll talk about that. Mirage supposedly dying only to come back was stupid. Let's just be honest. That was really stupid. It's like, why the hell would you even bring that up if you weren't even going to like go all the way with it? At least with Bumblebee, like that fucker was basically dead for most of the movie.
For real. At least I can sit here and say that.
But we'll talk more about Bumblebee when we get to him. Let's see. What the fuck can we say about Mirage except for the fact that he was supposed to be Noah's best friend, his buddy, and the way Bumblebee was to the girl in the last movie, and the way Bumblebee was to Sam Witwicky in the first 3 Transformers movies. Yeah. Mirage got some cool action sequences like the rest of the Transformers. That's really about it. I don't have a whole lot to say about Mirage. I didn't like him. I didn't hate him. He was just sort of there, which some could probably see as a bad thing, considering the fact that he was supposed to be one of the most prominently featured characters. Would you see Mirage being so unmemorable as sort of a bad takeaway from this movie?
No, not really.
Okay, then fuck Mirage. Let's go on to who the one of the 2 Transformers that matters the most in this. We got Optimus Prime, played by the legend himself once again, Peter Cullen, the OG Optimus Prime, who's voiced him in various things since the beginning. He was him in the G.N.O, and he was Optimus again in Transformers Prime, and has been through all the movies so far. And the people in charge of making the movies have even said that Peter's welcome to come back and voice Optimus Prime as often as he wants. I gotta say, I am so glad that they kept Peter Cullen.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. It brings a sort of authenticity to the character that probably would have been lost anyways, as that would have been lost if they replaced him and had him played by anyone else, like, say, Thor, like Chris Hemsworth. That would be so stupid.
Punk keeps saying Prime felt off, and in my opinion.
Well,
Prime was kind of like, he was kind of indifferent on humans in this movie until like lean towards the end.
I will say, I get what people are saying when they say Prime was off, because for the most part, Optimus Prime is usually seen as actually a really nice guy when it comes to dealing with humans. When it comes to being when he's talking to the Autobots as a whole, he talks to them like a general, like what he's supposed to, a general leading an army at war, which is fair. But when he gets characters one-on-one or in a smaller group, he's a lot more soft-spoken, a lot more peaceful. He seems like he's more down-to-earth, very nice guy. Whereas in this, he was very distrusting of humans, and like, fuck these guys. We don't want these humans getting in the way of what we're trying to do. They're a problem. They're an obstacle. Let's just do us. Let's worry about ourselves. I understand why people might not care for that. But I get what people are saying, but I feel like it kind of makes sense in the context of this movie, because I don't remember a lot about Bumblebee. I don't know if the Autobots came to Earth at the end of that movie or if they came to Earth in between the two movies, but you could tell they were very new on the planet. And so it makes sense in context that he would be a little distrusting, because they were at war, then they're misplaced on this planet, they're mostly unfamiliar with. I can see why he probably was distrusting in this. Well, it could be a bit distrusting in this movie. It does make sense to me, at least in that context. And the whole point of Optimus's character arc in this movie is taking him from that point to where he is being the nice guy to the humans. It's like, don't worry, y'all, we got you. Which I don't know if we necessarily needed that explained, but I actually give props to the writers for even trying to do that. What do you think, Abyss?
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. He's on this planet. He's not really too familiar with people and stuff, and you don't want him to like know about him and all that. He just wants to go back to his planet, and that was it.
Because even though they're on Earth, the war's still going on Cybertron, so it would make sense that he'd be more concerned about getting back there than trying to be nice to a bunch of random aliens that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with the Optimus's character arc and the way he's portrayed in this movie, but I fully understand why other people will find it jarring and say he felt off. It makes perfect sense. So I won't fault you. Hopefully you won't fault me. And if you do, fuck you anyways. I got a podcast. What you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
But something I also gotta say, I loved Optimus's design in this movie. I actually liked all the designs of the characters. I love that they've gone back to the simplicity of what the characters were in G1. They're not overly basic and blocky. They have added some intricacies to the design, but it's not overly intricate like what it was in the Bayformer movies. Like, with those movies, there was so much going on with the designs, except for maybe Bumblebee and Optimus. Most people have said they had a hard time distinguishing who was who. Some people have even said that the Decepticons all look like smaller versions of Megatron.
Mega.
So, what do you think about the designs of the Transformers in this?
Abyss? Yeah, they were all pretty good overall, in my opinion.
Yes.
I prefer the Bayverse looks, LOL. Toku Punk says.
Well, he's entitled to his wrong opinion.
I like both. I don't really care.
In all honesty, though, I prefer the simplicity of these designs. It's short, sweet, to the point.
It's like
So,
it kind of fits the theme though, where it's like from the 80s, 90s. Yeah, it's gonna have. Of course, let them have a bit of an old school look since all that shit's old school now.
for sure. If they were going to try to force these to be prequels to the Bayformer movies, you could say the designs got more updated and more integral as time went on. If you want to, but
Yeah.
I still prefer these to be a reboot because, well, Tokupunk's pointed out a few reasons already in the comment section why these work better as their own thing, separate from the Bayformers. And something else you gotta point out: how the fuck did they go with all this going on with the Transformers? They've been here since the 80s. How are they gonna say that people have been so hush, quiet about out of the know of the Transformers existing on our planet from the 80s up till 2007 with all the crazy shit they were doing? Like, literally, the Earth was almost destroyed by a Unicron at the end of this fucking movie. How are you going to cover that up?
I don't know.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry,
And
I
I-
haven't been talking too much. I'm kind of tired. My brain's kind of just still half asleep. And
It's
I don't
fine.
know too much. And I don't know too much about Transformers. Otherwise, I'd be into this way more.
It's fine. It's fine. We're here to talk about the movie. It's just that because I know so much about the Transformers movies, I don't think it's even possible for an autistic fuck like me to just talk about the movie without bringing up what all went into the movie that was already previously established.
Yeah.
Yes, Tokupunk, I agree. The Maximals did look amazing in this movie. So, speak of Maximals, let's talk about some of the Maximals. Let's start with Optimus Primal. So, you don't know anything about Beast Wars or Beast Machines, do you, my friend?
No. No, a damn thing.
So, this will be your first impression of Optimus Primal. What do you think of him?
He was pretty cool. He's just basically like Optimus Prime, but monkey.
But monkey. Yeah, I guess that's a fair description. That's kind of what he was in Beast Machines and Beast Wars anyway, so I say that's apt. He is what Optimus Prime would end up becoming. And I kind of like how they did this whole full circle thing. Optimus Primal is the way he was because of what he knew Optimus Prime to be, because for those of you who don't know, the Maximals are actually from the future, and when they came to Earth, they came to our far past and have been living here ever since, hence the whole multiversal hopping thing with the transwarp and everything. So, seeing how Optimus Primal was inspires Optimus Prime to become the Optimus Prime he would be later on, which in turn inspires Optimus Primal to be who he is as a person. It's a whole full circle thing, and I like that. I like the way it is. So, yes, I agree. Primal was the best character. And also, to note, he was voiced by Ron Perlman, Hellboy himself, or Slade, or the dad from Sons of Anarchy, wherever you know Ron Perlman from. The dude's been around, and he deserves a fucking job. He was great in this. Yes. Tokupunk says the Maximals were so underused. They had much more Cheetor and Rhinox, but their time got cut. Oh, yes, Gojin. He is also Hannibal Chow in Pacific Rim. Thank you for reminding me of that. Sorry, I'm starting to get a little scattered brain. As we go on, I get more and more autistic because I get more and more tired. So, holy shit. Woo! And something else Gojin pointed out, they probably did a lot of reference shots of Peter Jackson's King Kong for this movie, because there's times in this where it almost looks like they took scenes right out of the Peter Jackson King Kong, but just paste them over with Optimus Primal. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, he's just basically King Kong a couple of times.
Yes. That's not a knock, though. I like that Optimus Primal can evoke ideas of King Kong with his performance. And, there's going to be inevitably that comparison anyways, because one CGI monkey, other CGI monkey, and yes, I know that gorillas are apes, not monkeys, but monkey is funnier to say, so shut up. So, it was better than anything in Skull Island anime. I don't agree with you there. I like the Skull Island anime just fine, but
I haven't seen it, and honestly, I have no desire to right now.
Well, that's not what we're here to talk about anyways. Optimus Primal. Probably the best character in the whole movie. I would say second. Optimus comes in a close second, only because I really liked what they did with his character arc for the movie. So, would you say Optimus Primal was the best character in the movie?
Yeah, about right.
Right on. Then we got the only other very noticeable Maximal to talk about because of how unique their role was in the movie. Air Razor, a Maximal warrior who transforms into a falcon, played by Michelle Yeoh. Sorry if I said that last name wrong. What'd you think of Air Razor, Abyss?
The hawk person?
Yes. Falcon, actually.
Pretty cool overall. I hear that she died. Wait.
Yeah, I think she died. I know that she
Her
was
and Optimus Prime were probably the best two characters, honestly.
Right on. I like that she was basically the bridge that tied in what was going on tied with the Maximals to what was going on with the humans and the Autobots. She's basically what brought them together into that fighting force that took the final stand against Scourge and all of them. It was a shame what happened to her. The fact that she got hurt so badly and then had her mind taken over. And then I think also ended up dying because they had to kill her off because she wasn't in control of herself.
Yeah.
So it was tragic. It didn't make me cry or anything, but I did feel bad for her. One flaw I noticed was it has a Netflix trilogy flaw. They bring back Bumblebee, but forgot about Erazar. Oh, shit, you're right. Yeah, why couldn't they have brought back Erazar if they brought back Bumblebee? Holy shit. We're being forced to think about this movie. And thinking about it brings up the fact that there are actually a lot of flaws and plot holes. Is this a bad movie? Would you say this is a bad movie, Abyss, if you had to be honest with yourself?
I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's definitely better than the fucking Michael Bay movies by far.
Right on. But yeah, I liked her role in the movie. Sucks that they didn't bring her back when they brought Bumblebee back. And then I guess we'll just round up the last one. RC was there. I'm glad she was there because I liked the RC character. I finally went with her G1 design instead of her Prime design. Bumblebee was there, underused. I am surprised that he took one of their most unique characters and put them out of the plot the way they did. Wheeljack was there and had a Mexican accent, just sort of there. Stratosphere was there, played by John DiMaggio. That was pretty cool. Then you had Cheetor and Rhinox. They were just there. Yeah, there's a lot of... Again, because there's so many characters, not a lot
are
of...
just there.
Yes, unfortunately. Now I feel kind of foolish for wishing that there was more in here. Because the reason I was initially wanting more Autobots and Maximals in here is because of the fact that I'm so used to them being like soldiers in a war, so you expect a whole lot of soldiers in a big ass army to go fight another army. But now thinking about how many characters were just here, it's like, nah, they used the right amount. So no, I'm not worried about the fact that Rat Trap wasn't in this movie, who is another Maximal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody acting goofy in the server.
Probably Justin.
Correct.
Ugh. Well, it was I was gonna either guess him or someone else, but
yeah. But let's get to Transformers. We can deal with that after the stream.
Yes. The rest of the good Transformers were just there. They've served as troops in the strike team that took down the bad guys, and that's really all they needed to be, considering the fact that Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal, if you're going to have any Transformers characters be the main focus, it should be those two. It was those two. So I was just fine with the fact that they got the lion's share, so to speak, of characters, screen time, character arcs, and character development.
Yeah.
Would you agree there, Abyss?
Yep, about right.
So then I guess we'll move on to Scourge, played by Peter Dinklage, everyone's favorite short man in Hollywood right now. What did you think of Scourge?
He was pretty badass. He was a pretty badass villain.
Yep. Why can't they get Wheeljack right? I don't know. I really don't. But
love Scourge. Yeah, Scourge was the fucking highlight of this movie.
Oh yeah. He had a great presence about him. I liked his presentation, and I liked the menace that Peter Dinklage brought to the performance, and he looked cool too. And having him be a trophy hunter is a nice little character detail that they didn't have to put in there, but I'm glad they did, because it just adds more to his badass villainry and all that.
Yep.
And then
his backstory was coded. Yeah, his planet got destroyed. Unicron was like, "Oh, I'll give you a deal. You basically be like my Silver Surfer and shit, but Transformer version."
Yeah, it's so fascinating seeing how many parallels Unicron has to Galactus, to the point they even take heralds that help them pick out planets to be destroyed and all that. It's fascinating. It almost makes me wonder.
Toku Punk out here talking about all these cutted scenes, and it's like, I want to see like a Justice League, Zack Snyder Justice League version of this movie now.
Like, this is all the shit they were going to have in the movie, or how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, probably. I kind of am okay with how it turned out, though, because, well, it was already 2 hours long. Maybe adding more would have made the story drag. Whenever you're making a story like this, there's going to be a lot of stuff that gets cut and dropped. Speaking as a story maker myself, my book I'm working on, the one I wrote and I'm trying to get published now, it's a lot shorter than it was. By the time I was finished with the first draft, it was over 130,000 words long. You know how long it is now? Less than 85,000. A lot was cut from it. So just keep in mind, something's always going to get lost, whether you want it expanded upon or not. Even in Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, even though it's 4 hours long, there was still stuff that was cut from it. Still stuff. There was supposed to be a cameo appearance by a Green Lantern in that movie that got cut because of pacing issues. And I'm sure that's what happened here. There was a lot of pacing issues with all the material they had initially. So they had to decide what worked best for the story they wanted to tell, and then shove everything else to the side. So keep that in mind. They're giving you what they feel was the best that needed to be put on screen. You can ask yourself what if as much as you want. That's your prerogative. That's your right. But just try to keep in mind that these people are only human and they're trying to do the best they can to put out the product they're giving you. Yeah. And considering what all they managed to do with the product they gave us, I thought it was fair enough, especially, again, with Optimus Prime, Optimus Primal, and Scourge. Those three, as far as Transformers go, are definitely the highlight for me. Would you agree with that, Abyss?
Air Razor, Optimus Primal, and Scourge, the best three characters from the whole movie.
Yeah. Right on. And then in my notes, I just grouped the rest of the Terracons and Predacons together because I don't remember much about them. They're just minions and bad guys and henchmen trying to fill in the roles that they played, and they did them very well. I enjoyed the action scenes that they had with them. I'm fine with them just being secondary henchmen that may not be as memorable as Scourge, but as secondary characters, they did their jobs well enough, I thought. What do you think?
Yeah, everything worked. I think the best they could.
Mm-hmm. And then Unicron, his presentation, mwah! Yeah, they used just the right amount of Unicron in this movie. I thought they did very well with him. So, I guess, unless you have anything else you want to add about any of the characters there, Abyss?
No.
Okay. Then let's move on to special effects. What do you think of the effects in this movie?
It was really damn cool.
Yeah, I agree. They looked fine. They looked realistic enough.
I felt like what was going on with Unicron, I was like, holy shit, this is like probably peak CGI and all that.
Oh, yeah. As far as I remember, all the robots in this, all the Transformers in this, looked like they were actually there. They didn't look like they were superimposed or anything. They looked like actual robots interacting with their environment, at least in my opinion. And I thought it was very well done. Can you think of any scene where the special effects might have faltered at all?
No, I would have to go back and look.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to give this movie a rewatch when it's released to home media.
Yeah.
So, guess we'll move on to the soundtrack. What do you think of the soundtrack?
Honestly, I don't remember anything from it.
All I remember is that they used a lot of rap and hip hop, which
I guess that's
I get why they used. I get why they used it, but I'm not really a big rap or hip hop fan.
Depends on who the rapper is for me.
I understand. I do like some rap songs, not necessarily artists, but I do like select songs. And I will also say, I know that a lot of people, no one's going to agree with me. I kind of wish they had used some of the hair metal and hard rock they used in the 80s movies. Well, I'm always going to want them to use hard rock and heavy metal because that's my favorite kind of music. And I think it would have fit some of the fight scenes pretty good. Like,
yeah.
When they had Bumblebee jump in at the last minute of the last fight in this movie, I heard Stan Bush's song from the first animated Transformers movie in my head. I heard it playing so loud. I'm like, why wasn't it playing here? But I know that some people might think that's too corny or sappy, and how people see that kind of music as a bit dated, which is fair enough. But still,
it was for its time.
Yes, it was for its time. And because I love the music of that time so much, and I love the first Transformers movie so much, I can't help but wish it was there and think, what if? Somebody who has a YouTube channel of their own and has good editing skills, edit that song into that moment when Bumblebee jumps to join the fight at the last minute. I want to see how that actually plays out. But yeah. Soundtrack, meh. Don't really care. Cinematography and editing, what did you think?
Man, you point out stuff I haven't even sit here and really thought about. Let my ass off. I guess it was fine.
Okay, let's just do a little speed point through the rest of this. I thought it was fine too. Reboot or prequel? I think we all have come to the conclusion now that yes, these definitely better. This and Bumblebee work better as reboots because they, for various reasons, they don't really fit in with the Bayformers movie timeline. You agree?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Okay. The future of the series. Will the series continue on? Honestly, that depends on the box office. According to Collider, the movie's doing well right now, but I'm not entirely sure about that because according to a lot of movie studios nowadays are pushing for all their movies to make their big blockbusters to make over $1 billion. If it doesn't make more than $1 billion, then it's seen as a failure. Even movies that do make over $1 billion are seen as financial failures. Like Rise of Skywalker, the last of the sequel trilogy Star Wars movies. That movie made more than $1 billion, but a lot of people are saying that because of the brand that it's a part of and the expectations that go with it, it's still seen as a box office disappointment. I don't know if I would go that far, but basically, here's what it boils down to. Because of production costs combined with the cost of advertising, a movie basically has to make more than twice its budget in order to be able to say they broke even. Anything after that is considered a profit. According to Wikipedia, this movie had a production budget of between $195 and $200 million, roughly the same production budget of Godzilla King of the Monsters from 2019. Holy shit, they can have that much money to waste on these kind of movies. Inflation's a motherfucker, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, adding to the advertising costs and making that double, that's like $400 million. The movie needs to make more than $400 million at the box office in order to be able to say they broke even. And right now, it's according to this, it's currently made $383 million at the box office. Now, to be fair, it's not even a month yet, so it could still turn a profit, which will probably warrant a sequel enough. But I'm just surprised this movie has such a bigger budget than Bumblebee, because that movie had a budget of between $102 to $135 million.
Oh, it's probably largely because of Unicron, if we're being for real, and his minions.
Yeah, and the fact that there's a way more Transformers in this movie than there were in that movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, let's see. Toku Punk said something. Still better than all the other films this summer, along with Spider-Verse. I haven't seen Spider-Verse. Honestly, not interested.
Transformers will never die.
Mm-hmm. The movies, shows, toys, and comics will go on if one dies out. That's true. I just think it would be a shame for this version to die out before it has a chance to actually really begin. Because I like what they've done with these new rebooted movies. I enjoyed Bumblebee. I enjoyed this movie. So I want to see this series, this continuity, continue and go on until it gets to a point where it can have a more proper climax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would like that to happen. And I got a feeling that this might be able to make a profit. I don't think it'll cross $1 billion, because I think that ship has pretty much sailed. Once the Bayformer movies start to fail, it's like anything afterwards is a blessing, a plus. What do you think? Do you think that this movie is good enough that it'll warrant people to see it enough to make a profit and thus keep this particular film series going?
They'll probably make another movie. I think it's doing enough to where they're like, yeah, we're going to make another movie.
Right on. Then I guess... I guess we'll... now we'll conclude with our final thoughts. Got any closing thoughts on this movie, Abyss?
It's not. It got me back into Transformers, and it's not a terrible movie over time. They greenlit a sequel, LOL. It's a trilogy. I guess the third one's going to be Megatron.
Hey, they were greenlit sequels for The Mummy and Dracula Untold too, and those never got made. That, again, the Universal version of a cinematic universe failed before it even got started, even though they had all these plans. Studios can change their mind on the flip of a dime. Just saying.
True.
8 out of 10. Felt like a kid watching Rise of the Fallen again during the Hub era. Oh. I'd say I would give the movie a 7 out of 10 myself.
I'm going to say it's about a 7 myself also.
Yeah, it was good. It was a very good movie. I very much enjoyed it. That's why I keep saying I want to see this version, this film series, this timeline, this continuity continue with future installments. Hopefully they don't get worse as they go on, like a lot of film series tend to. So, yeah, I guess that's the end of it. Thank you all for joining. I'm sorry I was a piss poor host. I hope that Joey sees the error of his ways in having me and Aaron carrying this by ourselves, and that he'll join with future Galactic Nerd Outpost entries from now on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.